Dr. YaYa. Ask Dr. YaYa.
Hey, what's going on? Can you guys hear me? It's good to be back. It's good to be with you. I always get much pleasure and enjoyment from sharing these evenings with you. You already know what it is. I give you 30 minutes of practical wisdom and common sense. You can reach me at askdryaya.com. I am ready to get into this discussion, into this conversation, to have this real discussion because it's much needed. This is a discussion that needs to be had. It's not going to be an easy discussion. It is not going to be a lovely discussion, but it is a discussion that needs to be had. So, without further ado, I think we ought to get right into it. But first, let me say that I affirm that every lesson you needed to learn today, you learned it well, and you kept it. I also affirm that every bit of inspiration you needed to encourage you and motivate you, that you got it today, and it served you well. So here's a discussion, you guys. Here's the real talk. This is for the family. This is really for grown folks. This is a discussion that we need to have in order to see where we are and what we plan to do with the rest. How can I put this? Yes, with the rest of your life. How do you plan to live that and see that and deal with that? So we're going to have a discussion. In our community, we have discussed a lot of things. We discussed feminism and how it has affected families. We discussed slavery. We've discussed Jim Crow laws. We discussed Black history. We've discussed a lot of things as it pertains to our community. We discussed the pipeline to prison. We've discussed all of these things as pertains to our community. But what we really haven't discussed, and those are some things that are sort of like, when we get right down to it, there's some surface things that are there. And if we pull back that little veil of information and dig deeper, then we're on a whole other level. We really haven't discussed that, and we're going to discuss that tonight. We are going to have the real discussion about our community. We've even had the discussion about how mental health in our community is suffering, right? That little veil that it's been kind of vague, but tonight we're going to have a real discussion. We're going to have some real talk tonight, and you might find yourself or someone in that place. But it's okay, because this is what we do over here. So we're about to get active. Wow. You guys, this is, I don't know where to start. Well, okay, I'll start here. Let's discuss why most of us, the majority of us, are emotionally stunted. Now, if you don't know what the word stunted means, it means that you have not been able to develop properly. Okay, you have not been able to develop your emotions properly, emotionally stunted. And most of the people in our community are emotionally stunted. And they're emotionally stunted because they cannot feel emotionally vulnerable. And what that word vulnerable means, it means that you open yourself up to being capable of being physically or emotionally wounded. See, we don't like that idea in the Black community about being wounded, because we have this strength thing going on. We always talk about how strong we are. especially with black women. Black women are strong, and the black man is strong. And so we hear that a lot, and we say things like that a lot. And then you see these memes on social media that say, you're strong because you're carrying everything on your back. You're the person who's laughing all the time and not crying. It doesn't mean that they're not going through. It just means that they're strong. And so you hear all of these things, and so you begin to stunt your emotional growth. You don't begin to develop the way you're supposed to develop. Now let's dig deeper. How you doing, girls? You're absolutely right. Low emotional IQ. So here we go. Let's dig deeper. What about when you're at home, when you were growing up, and someone said to you, stop crying? What are you crying for? Well, apparently something hurts. Usually when people cry, they cry because something hurts. That's, they need something. That's what babies would do when they wanted attention, when they needed something. And, because they can't speak, they don't have their words, so they have their emotion. But at some point, as you developed, you stopped using your emotion and started using your words. And so you felt like, I can hold back. I can hold this, but it caused you to be stunted, and it really, it stopped and stunted your emotional growth. Okay. So here you are at home, and stop crying, quit crying, especially if we tell our young men that. But guess what? That hurt has to go somewhere. It has to go somewhere. And if I can't release it in my emotion and develop it in a very natural way, then what's going to happen is I'm going to internalize it. And anytime you internalize something, because you're just holding on to it, it's like a powder keg, it develops into anger. It develops into anger. So something you should have released as confusion or frustration or sadness, because you didn't get that opportunity to do that, now you have held on to it for so long that you're just mad. You don't even know why you're mad. Everything is triggering you. Everything is ticking you off. Everything is not right with you, and you don't know why. That's because you are emotionally stunted. The other thing that goes along with that, and most of the reason, again, as to why the majority of people in our community are emotionally stunted, is because they have not been allowed to be emotionally vulnerable. When people have no desire to be vulnerable, what they're saying is they don't want to be emotional. That goes hand in hand. Anytime you say that, I don't want to be the first one to say I love you. You're saying, I don't want to be emotionally vulnerable because I'm emotionally stunted. I don't want to share the fact that, hey, I really care about this person, because I don't want to be left out there dealing with rejection. And anytime you have these certain types of thoughts, it starts in our community and in our households. Again, in our community, we are taught not to really develop emotionally. That is a thing, a real thing that we're taught. If I can't cry, if you don't let them see that's a sign of weakness. Don't cry. Don't let them see you, act like that. And don't, when you just don't just throw love around like that. Don't say I love you. I hear a lot of people say that. I don't say I love you unless I really mean it. But you don't even know what love is, because 9 times out of 10, most of the time, because you're emotionally stunted and you haven't really developed, you pick the wrong people. Even when you think that you're at that place, you pick the wrong people, because we're taught to be emotionally stunted. We're taught to not feel, but not only not to feel, but not to express those feelings. Let's dig a little deeper. When mothers in our community put their daughter's sexuality on display, that's a real thing in our community. We're not going to cover it up with any type of thin sheet. This is real talk. This is what we're going to discuss. Moms put their daughter's sexuality on display. It's cute when she's 3 years old and you got her in some nice boots, and she's wearing a wig and everybody's, oh, look at her, she's so fast. But when she turns 16 and she's sitting on your man's lap in the living room, it's a problem. But that's the foundation that you laid. That's the foundation that was laid. See, what you considered cute and fast is no longer cute and fast when she develops into something that's causing you some embarrassment. Or what about this? You ever hear this? Ladies, if you got a man, you got to have a spare tire. You got to have another man in case that one man doesn't take care of what he's supposed to take care of. Yeah, that's it. Again, it goes back to being emotionally stunted. No emotional growth. Right? That's what happens. That we're having some real talk about our community. We're just going to lay this thing out because people are trying to figure out, why is there so much anxiety? Why are so many men and women mad at each other and pointing the finger and blaming? Because that's what I do when I don't know how to express myself emotionally. That's what happens. That's what you do. And the main thing that we really don't want to talk about, you do understand that boys in our community get molested as well. Yes, they do. We don't like to hear things like that. We don't even like to discuss it. We like to say things like, we really have to protect our women, protect the girls, protect them. They're out here being hurt. But guess what? Our little boys are being hurt too. They're being hurt as well. And they don't tell it because you have to be strong. Remember, we're going back to that first point. You have to be strong. You can't say that. Someone might think that I liked it. Someone might think that I'm gay. I can't bring this up. I'll be teased and bullied. But that is there. It's there. And when it's not shared, when the young Black boy doesn't have anyone to speak to and share that with, he holds it on the inside. Then he begins to question himself. And then, when he questions himself, and then he's feeling some type of way and he has to prove himself now. But we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about that. How you doing, Doug? Good to see you. So we don't want to talk about how these things affect our community. And then we have the audacity to turn around and say, Black man, stand up. Okay. All right. So now he puts on this face and this facade saying, okay, now I got to try to figure this thing out because I'm wounded too. But see, I can't go and share the fact that I'm wounded or that I'm emotionally hurting because I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to put myself out there to further be emotionally wounded. I'm struggling with that. So what do I do? And 9 times out of 10, you put it on the back burner. You cover it up. But some men cover it up with religion. Some men cover it up with material possessions. Same thing with women. They cover it up with more bodies, right? Because let me tell you something. If there's a void in you, if there's an emptiness in you, you're going to have to fill it with something. Because empty space does not feel good. It does not help you grow. It does not help you succeed when you feel like something is missing. And when you feel like something is missing, there's that empty space. And so you have to begin to fill it. And if you don't fill it correctly and you begin to fill it with all of these other things, it does no good because you're going to keep chasing. You're going to keep chasing. You're going to keep running after it. And usually if there's a space there, that means that there's something going on with you emotionally. There's something going on emotionally with you. I don't care how many pairs of good Nikes you buy and you brag about, oh, I got these Air Force Ones. Oh, I got the latest. Means absolutely nothing if that void is not filled. If you're still empty, means absolutely nothing, because you cannot fill an emotional void with something outside of yourself. You can't fill that with material wealth. You can't fill it with bodies. You can't fill it with sex. You can't fill that thing. So if there is an empty space, that's an emotional space. That is something that you have to deal with on an emotional level. People who emotionally eat are trying to fill something up because they need to feel full. And they just happen to use food. But they need to feel full. I'm feeling empty. And in order for me to feel full, I am going to run to food. When actually it's an emotional issue. Something that you have to deal with emotionally. And we don't get that. Why? Because we're not taught that. We're taught to press down emotion, suppress it, repress it, push it back, because you don't want anyone else to see it. You know, we're taught, don't let them see you cry, and you know, just hold your head up. It'll be okay. But no one ever says, listen, it's okay. I know it hurts. And it's going to hurt. And it's okay. You need to let it out. I need you to feel it, and I need you to let it out. That's how we develop emotionally. You don't develop emotionally by holding it back. But in our community, that's what we're taught. And so we put it back and we appear to be strong people, but on the inside, you're wounded. You don't even know how to love yourself, let alone other people. So love sometimes in our community comes out in a way that people can see it, not expressed, but they can see it in what we own. There's a lot of, when you correct parents in our community, when we say, you know, you really need to pay attention to your kids, the first thing that most parents will say is, my kids are all right. They get anything they want. They get everything materially, but not emotionally. What you mean they're all right? But that's the first thing that is said. That's the first thing that's said. My kids get everything that they could possibly want, but they're not getting everything that they need. And when you say that, you're continuing this cycle of another generation of emotionally stunted human beings. That's what you're doing. Hey, how you doing, Vet? It's good to see you. Yes, Cosmic, they shame the feelings. They shame the feelings. It's not healthy at all. We get a group of angry, anxious people, nervous and neurotic people, because I don't know how to express this feeling. I don't know how to express that I'm hurting, I'm confused, I'm emotional, I'm in love, I may be a bit obsessive. I don't know how to express these feelings. So I either don't express them correctly, and 9 times out of 10, that's what happens. People don't express their feelings correctly because they run to a different emotion to keep from feeling the emotion that's really there. And then when you say, it's okay to feel that, you get pushback. Well, what will people think? They think that you're feeling your emotions. That's what they're going to think. But if you never hear that, you'll never do that. And so you'll start treating your children and the children around you the way that you were treated. Because you say, hey, it was good enough for me. No, it wasn't good enough for you because you're emotionally messed up. So it can't be good enough. Something has to change. At some point, you have to be so self-aware and say, well, damn, Big Mama she did kind of mess me up by telling me not to cry, by telling me not to feel, by calling me a sissy because I like flowers, by calling me names because I like to sing, because I'm happy. And let's be real, that happens in our community. In our community, whatever feelings that you have, at some point, someone's going to say, well, that's not good for a boy, to just like to garden so much. Is there something wrong with him? He's happy being in the garden. But that's not what we hear. Look, Mr. Page says, they only understand 2 or 3 emotions. So limited emotions means you can only react to those 3 ways. Yet those 3 ways. Absolutely. 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 And that's what we're taught. Let me tell you something. You want to know how to really, really respond to feeling true emotion. Watch a toddler. Watch a toddler before you sink your little teeth into them and kill their joy and creativity. Just watch them. Toddlers express themselves wherever they are. Whatever emotion they have going on at the time, that's what they express. They can go from being happy 1 minute and holding a butterfly, and they crush the butterfly. In that moment, they're crying. They're expressing that until you tell them, don't cry, it's not that serious. Toddlers express where they are. What happened to us? What happened to us? Someone broke your heart for the first time and you say, I'll never love again. What's the matter with you? Emotionally stunted. because you are afraid to feel feelings that you may have to express. Oh, I don't want to tell her, I'm digging her and everything, but I don't want to tell her I love her because, she might not feel the same way. What? I'm not telling him I love him. He got to tell me first. What? Again, our community is suffering. Suffering. And we just pass that stuff down. We just pass it down. Here, you get emotionally stunted. You get emotionally stunted. Oh, you over there in the back, you get emotionally stunted. Just pass it down like it's okay. Right? Absolutely. He says, we kill a child's curiosity. I have heard parents literally say, you ask too many questions, or I told you already why the sky is blue. Absolutely. We do. We kill a child's creativity and their curiosity. And along with that, because you have a serious connection to your emotion in that place. And so along with that, my emotion is being stifled because I was excited. I was excited about knowing this. But what I got from you was because I said so. Because that's not what little boys do. Because that's not how little girls are supposed to think. And we pass these things down in a very condescending way. It's like, and I'm going to say this, and I know you guys love your big mamas and your pappies and all of that other good stuff, but they weren't always right. I'm just going to say it. Like I said, can we talk? Can we have some real talk? They weren't always right. I know you love your mama. And I know you probably respect your daddy, but they weren't always right. They didn't always get it right. Because they're passing down some stuff they heard. And so they're going to give it to you. And again, it hasn't helped you. It hasn't served you well. You have gone through relationship. And most of the time, relationships end because of communication issues. And communication problems come about because you don't know how to express yourself. You don't know how to do it. Cosmic Energy says, so we avoid being vulnerable and shame vulnerability in others, and resentment happens. Absolutely. That's exactly what happens. And then when we don't want to deal with these types of things in our community, it's easy for us to point the finger and blame other people. Uh-oh. We blame other people for that. Well, if it hadn't have been for that, then this wouldn't, I wouldn't be around here acting so hard. No. Is that what you need to do? We won't tell anybody. We family around here. We won't tell anybody. I want you guys to share and like this video. I would certainly appreciate it. So that's where we are. That's what we do. That's how we respond to everything. And then we say things like this, we're Black people, we really some emotional people. What? What? We don't know how to express it. Now, what you really want to say is that we're some angry people. That's what you want to say. We're talking tonight. Y'all not going to like me tonight, but you'll love me in the morning. So that's what we have to say. Not that we're we're emotional and we're passionate. No, we're angry. Because that's one of the emotions that we learn how to express. So let's just be real. We're angry. confused, and frustrated. We show that very well. Oh, we can do that. We do that because that's what we've seen. That's what we were allowed um, to express, even in how we deal with people. If somebody hits you, you better hit them back. Wait a minute. What about before we get to the hitting part? Can you give me some skills and some tools to be a diplomat and an ambassador first? But the first thing you tell me as you putting on my backpack for kindergarten is not have a good day, do well. I know you're going to be awesome, but you're going to put the backpack on me and say, if somebody hits you, you hit them back. I know y'all don't want to hear this, but we having a talk. And so in a 6-year-old or 5-year-old's mind, they're like, okay, hit back, hit back, hit. So out the gate, So you don't tell me, I know you starting school, the first day of kindergarten, be kind, listen to the teacher and have fun. No, what you say is if somebody hits you, hit them back. So already I'm out the gate being angry because I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for you to hit me because I have instruction. And so I know with the hit comes anger behind that. You don't hit people when you're happy. You don't hit people with joyful thoughts. So right there, I'm allowed to be angry, but I'm not allowed to cry. Okay. I'm allowed to be upset, but I'm not allowed to be sad. Out the gate. We're emotionally stunted, and we need to discuss that. We need to discuss that. And it kind of, it's a tragedy for me to say this, but we need to discuss it in a safe place. And I really don't like to use that safe place, because had we not been taught to be afraid of being vulnerable, we would need a safe place. We wouldn't need it because we know how to express it. We know how to receive other people's expression, and we be healthy. Anytime you need a safe space and a safe place, you are not healthy. And so to put you in that place, what I'm saying to you is, okay, this is a safe place. So I'm telling you to unball your fist. Don't stop windmilling and pulling hair. That's what you're saying to me. When you tell me that this is a safe place, what you're telling me is, I'm gonna need you not to be so angry. Be nice. That's what I'm saying. But had we been taught early on how to express our emotions, we would need it. We wouldn't. So Mr. Page says, right, and debate is taught to be angry. You cannot have a difference of opinion without anger. Absolutely. Absolutely. You raise your voice and that person raises their voice higher. Why? Because most of the time that was the foundation in the household. So that's the way you communicate, because that's what you saw when you were little. And it takes a lot of retraining to get out of that. And we don't want to discuss that. We like to laugh at the stuff we see on social media. I think it's sad because I'm looking at a bunch of emotionally stunted people, a bunch of people who are wounded, a bunch of people who don't know how to express themselves. and be okay with someone else expressing themselves. It's a shame when you have a man and a woman in a relationship and the man can't even express how he feels because the woman is going to laugh at him or make him feel less than a man because he has the same feelings that she does. It's sad when a woman cannot come to a person that she loves and say, this is how I'm feeling, without the man saying, oh, you just trying to manipulate me and get me to be nice to you. Who in the hell does that? This is a problem. This is a problem. And until we admit it, until we have some sort of place, meetings like AA and drugs anonymous and all this other stuff, until somebody can stand up in the community and say, hi, my name is George and I'm an angry Black man and I'm emotionally stunted. Or hi, my name is Sharon. I'm an angry Black woman and I'm emotionally stunted. Nobody wants to say that because everybody wants to be strong. I'm a strong Black man. I'm a strong Black woman. But you don't even know how to express your emotions. That's a problem. That is a problem. But y'all, I appreciate y'all. Thank you for hanging out with me. It's been great. It's been lovely. I thank you for allowing me to have this real talk with y'all. We'll have to do it again sometime. Remember, you are loved, you are valued, and you are appreciated. And I will see you on the next episode. Bye now.